Hi, and welcome back to the Bandwich Tapes. I'm Brad Williams. On today's episode, I'm having a conversation with singer-songwriter Rita Bliss. Rita's based in Austin, Texas, but originally from the Rochester, New York area. She's a fantastic singer, songwriter, and instrumentalist, specifically playing the clawhammer-style banjo. I'm a new fan of hers and loved the conversation that we had. We spent some time talking about her musical beginnings, from listening to Joni Mitchell and Simon and Garfunkel, that was playing from her parents, and then playing in bands, and then eventually picking up the banjo and writing songs and recording. She's a fantastic songwriter, singer, and player, and I just had a great time talking with her, and I'm sure you'll enjoy her words and perspective. So here's my conversation with Rita Bliss.
It's another good day, watching you smile, wanting to stay for another long while. Rest in my arms the whole night through. Dream of the things that I'll do for you. I'll bring you flowers and run my fingers through your hair. I'll sing you love songs to fill up all the air. I'll let you see behind my eyes. It'll be all peaches and apple pies.
Hello, Rita. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Really excited to have you on the podcast and chat with you. As we were just talking before we started recording, I'm a new fan of yours and really enjoying what you do and how you do it. So really just my applause to you for your music.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm glad to have a new listener like you, and glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, it checks a lot of boxes for me as a music listener. Great songwriting and just really nice execution. I love the way you sing and the way you play, and I think you're bringing I would say a fresh perspective to a time honored tradition of music
Thank you.
that you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's really nice. And as we're talking, you live in Austin. How long have you been in Austin?
I do. I've been in Austin for just about 6 years. So
Okay.
I came right before all of the pandemic shutdowns and was
yeah.
barely acquainted with the city until that started to roll back. So it's been 6 years, but sometimes it doesn't feel like that long.
Sure.
Sometimes it feels like much longer because of how much time I just spent alone in my apartment through some of that. So.
Yeah. Was other than the incredible culture and the food scene and the amazing people, what else brought you to Austin? Was it music? Did you move there for your music career?
I actually didn't. The idea of kind of having a music career with that, to use that word specifically, didn't come up really until a couple of years ago. I moved down here really because I was in a big life transition and had an opportunity to make a big move. I had been living in upstate New York, where I'm originally from, and just thought, let me get out of this winter, get out of this cold, get out of this minimal sunshine available up here. And I have a brother who has lived in Austin for, at this point, 15 plus years. So I had visited several times and always enjoyed it, and was a little bit acquainted, before I moved down.
Yeah, it's an incredible city. As we were chatting, my son lives there, and it just like unlocked a new part of his heart. I think when he moved there, he just feels at home there. And just there's always something to do, and just he's felt so welcome there. And yeah, it's just an incredible, inspiring place.
That's true. I find that to be true. I mean, so much going on, especially in live music, of course, as it's known for. But any night of the week, you can see just about any genre in any kind of venue, be it, an awesome listening room or a divey bar or brewery or whatever
Yeah.
suits your needs.
Yeah, that's right. That you can. I think there are more live. I've read there are more live music venues in Austin than there are in Nashville. I believe that's correct. And it is such a diverse musical city. You really can go and hear anything you want any day of the week. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you're from what part of upstate New York are you from?
I grew up in the Rochester area.
Oh, cool.
And
Okay.
then
Yeah.
my coming into adulthood years was the Ithaca area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Rochester is, I have some good friends from there, and I think it's an unsung musical hero of the US. There's a lot of great music there. Obviously, Eastman School of Music, but a huge jazz scene and just any kind of music just like we're talking about Austin. I mean, you can go and hear anything in Rochester. It's incredible.
Yeah, you really can. Being in high school there, being in a high school band, which was exactly what you're picturing, there was always a lot of support and a lot of opportunities for us to go and play live as 15, 16-year-olds. So definitely a city that's supportive of the arts and of music.
Yeah, I've lived in St. Louis now for 3 years, and I feel some similarities between those two cities. It kind of feels like a big, small town. It's funny. I grew up outside of Atlanta, Georgia, and like I said, I've lived here for 3 years, and I run into more people I know here already than I did the entire time I lived in Georgia, and it's just like Rochester's the same way. It just feels very quaint, but there's a lot going on.
Yes, there really is.
Yeah.
So I was in St. Louis just a little over a year ago. I came through and I played Evangeline's Cafe.
Oh, yeah.
On my way through. So I technically have been there before, driving through on a big road trip as a teenager. But yeah, just over a year ago, I was there for a quick gig.
Yeah. We have... my wife is from St. Louis, and we made a family move to get her closer to her relatives. And I feel like I've lived here my entire life. It really feels like home. And I hope you felt that way while you were here. It's a thriving artistic city. St. Louis is.
Very cool. Yeah, I felt totally at ease in that gig.
Yeah.
People were friendly and attentive, more so than I was expecting, having never been there before, certainly never played there before. It was great.
Yeah, I haven't been to that venue. I've heard of the place where you played, and I saw in your bio that you had played in St. Louis. I was curious about where you had played here, and I was going to beg you to please come back sooner than later, so I can come and hear you. We can come and cheer you on. So how did music come into your life? Through family? How did you start listening and playing music?
Definitely through family. I can't really trace back an arrival time of music in my life. Both my parents are guitar players, and music was a big part of every little road trip to see relatives had. When my mom was driving, it was a Joni Mitchell CD, a Paul Simon CD, some Nancy Griffith, some Lyle Lovett, all that stuff for two and a half hours just on repeat. And then the two of them playing in the living room, and the opportunity to kind of get my first job. I think I was below legal working age at the time, but my dad did some shifts at a guitar shop in Rochester, and he would bring me along with him, and I would sit in the back and change strings or work the cash register. So it was really, really a big part of my life early on. I first got my own guitar in about 6th grade, so 10, 11, somewhere in there, and mostly just learned from my parents. I would, at the time, there was no YouTube instructional videos on playing.
Right.
So I kind of had to go downstairs with a question about a certain chord, or look up the chord chart in the back of a book, paperback book.
Yeah.
So
I have a 14-year-old daughter who we recently purchased another keyboard for our house, and she has just decided that she's going to learn how to play piano. And I'm just thinking about, because she's been asking me about all kinds of music theory things and how does this work and and I'm just picturing the enjoyment that your parents probably felt as you would come down and ask for help, because I have been loving this lately. Like, oh, we have this new thing that we are connecting on, and I'm sure it was the same way with you and your parents.
I'm sure, and that, of course, though, that was the age that overlaps with the general rejection of all authority, rejection of all, So if they were rejoicing, which I'm sure they were, I was very out of touch with with that element of it. But yes, hopefully they did enjoy that.
Yeah. Mom and Dad, I'm not speaking to you right now, but I do need to ask you about the best way to play this chord. That's really funny. I am experiencing that daily, so I know exactly what you're talking about. That's so funny. Yeah. Wow. What a great foundation of songwriters and singers and instrumentalists that you were able to soak up. I mean, what from Joni Mitchell to Lyle Lovett. I mean, what a great foundation you had as a music listener.
Yeah, I agree. Not just, from the songwriting perspective, but from a skill perspective too. I'm mostly a solo performer. 99% of the time I'm performing solo, but when it comes to writing and recording, harmonies are so special to me. And so listening to someone like Joni Mitchell or Simon and Garfunkel at that age and hearing in the car my mom sing the harmony and getting that direct, up close perspective on how that worked, certainly had an impact.
Yeah, I have a similar situation with my mother's probably my favorite singer, and just a beautiful harmony singer. And yeah, to hear that, I mean, I remember her teaching me how to do it when I was a kid, and just hopefully she's listening to this and will hear me say that. There you go, Mom, that's for you. But yeah, I understand that. And I would imagine, that's setting you up, understanding that and how those building blocks are made especially as a songwriter too. And then, taking that into live performance, understanding how that works.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you gravitate toward that music you were hearing, or did you, as you're entering that phase of life that we were talking about earlier, did you revolt against that, or did you start listening to other music as like, oh, I'm going to show them, I'm going to go and listen to this instead?
No, I really added to it. I maybe wouldn't have said out loud in upstate New York in the late 90s that I was a Lyle Lovett fan. I maybe wouldn't have said that out loud in that culture at the time as a teenager. But everything else, there was a lot of social acceptance of folky music. And I did branch out into the kind of alternative rock that was popular at the time. Counting Crows is the band that comes to mind. That was
sure.
It was a big deal to me. And, the Red Hot Chili Peppers to a certain extent, Blues Traveler, those kinds of bands. And I had a lot of, pockets where I would get deep into what at the time was considered classic rock. So like 70s, like Led Zeppelin and The Who, and I would kind of veer off into that as well at different times.
Yeah. And what I love about that list is that maybe there's, like, when I think about The Who, there's a certain amount of energy, right? I feel like the energy behind the music is as much of a part of it as the notes and the rhythms are, and the words, right? And learning to bring that to your craft or to your song, or that's a huge part of it,
Yeah. And I think with that music from that time, and with a band like Led Zeppelin, it's kind of that initial permission to scream more or less in a song, to kind of yell the vocals out more than you hear in folk music, at least.
Right. Yeah, you probably wouldn't hear, Pete Seeger, screaming like Robert Plant in a song, but It would be cool, I think, but we probably wouldn't hear it. Yeah. When did the banjo come into the picture for you?
So in that high school band time, I got it in my head to add some banjo to a song that we were recording a demo of. And my entry to banjo honestly wasn't that folk music stuff, but it was Ani DeFranco,
Yeah,
and she
absolutely.
has a song called "The Arrival's Gate," and the very intro of it is it's the same banjo bit over and over and over and over again, and that gave me the idea to add some banjo to a song of mine. From I think I was 16 at the most. So I set that up, and I learned what I needed to learn to incorporate into that song, and then I kind of put it away and didn't have the time and space and energy for it until my late 20s. Decided to really learn it, decided to see what I could do with it and have as much fun as possible.
Yeah.
At that point, I was looking to be in a band, and I've played guitar. Guitar was my first instrument, but I've never been an awesome guitar player. So I knew I wasn't gonna cut it as somebody's first choice for a guitar player in any kind of band. And I was fine with that, but I really was so drawn to the banjo that I was willing to put some time and effort into doing it well. And it was as a banjo player that I was able to play more with other people. So
Yeah, and you're a fantastic banjo
thank you.
player. Let me say, I love the way you play, and you're a claw hammer. Is that would you? Do you play like Scruggs style banjo as well, or are you just a claw hammer
Just a
player?
claw hammer player. Just claw hammer from the
And that's
start.
fine. That's all you need to do. I mean, I'm not suggesting that you should do anything else because it's you're really like in the pocket player, right? It's I can everything I've heard recorded. It's really really nice playing, and like I said, it's very forward. It has a good forward approach to the instrument, but while still honoring those players that came before
Mm.
you. It's really
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you when you went back and started relearning to play, did you go back and listen to banjo players from generations before, and or did you how did you what was your journey of learning to play?
I went to the local music shop. So this was in Ithaca at the time, and asked, who's around, who's a banjo teacher. And they had a list on the wall. I don't know if he's the only person that got back to me when I inquired, like the only one with an up-to-date phone number, because I'm talking a handwritten like piece of notebook paper taped to the wall in this music shop.
Right.
Or if he was at the top of the list, and he was the first person that I called. But Richie Stearns is the guy that gave me the first couple of banjo lessons. So I listened to his music a lot as I was learning. But honestly, otherwise it was learning kind of with the intention of being in a band and performing in a band. And in order
Hmm.
to do a 2 or 3 hour show at the time, we had to do a lot of covers. And the covers that we were drawn to were some old time music was in there. And again, going back to like late 90s alternative rock, some of those songs were in there. So
Oh, that's
as
cool.
I was learning to do some of these traditional songs, for the sake of instruction and getting accustomed to the instrument and the style, alongside, Cripple Creek, I was learning like Losing My Religion. Like
Yeah.
getting all that stuff to a functional, fun sounding place. So I don't have a lot of listening history in the more traditional clawhammer banjo or bluegrass players. Kind of in my musical library in my head, it was always learning. It was always, how can I play this song but on a banjo, whatever this song might have been.
I imagine that would have been, yeah, what a wonderful lesson that would be, though, to learn to play songs that, yeah, didn't either have the banjo or probably wasn't written with that in mind. It allows you to really stretch out creatively and bring some entirely new color to the canvas of the material.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think it was great that as beginner, as I was learning and taking on the songs that hadn't had a banjo in them, or certainly not a clawhammer part, there were very few, there wasn't a lot of room for mistakes because it was just how I was kind of deciding a banjo part should go. So I wasn't trying to learn anything note for note, replicate anything perfectly. I was just figuring out how to make it work with, we had a mandolin player and a guitar player and an upright bass player, and then later a viola player. So it was always, what can I do on a banjo for this song? In this mix of players.
Yeah, I really like that. I like that configuration, and I like the idea of a viola. I mean, I love a violin in an acoustic band, but I think the viola brings such a different texture to the sound.
Yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, and there are different pieces of the puzzle here of you as a wonderful artist. I also think you're a fantastic singer, and we'll talk about songwriting in a little bit. But I think you're a fantastic singer, and were you singing a lot in this band as well? Were you just an instrumentalist? When did the singing thing make its way to the front?
So that's a high compliment. I appreciate that. The singing was really just always there. I had never had any lessons. It was those car rides with the family of singing, and if there were two parts to sing, I would sing the main part and my mom would sing the harmony, but it was never discussed or decided upon. That's just what would happen. And I think as I was kind of trying to refine my voice and becoming more confident, and it was a big Nancy Griffith phase. And of course, she's from Texas, so I always joke when I perform out, and it comes through in the recording. I tried really hard to enunciate really well in the recording, and I've been trying to do that ever since. That was a note from the producer was like, make sure your words are clear. I'm like, okay, but I have this Rochester accent happening, and I have this Texan accent happening in some of my vocals as well, not from having lived here, but from having learned how to sing from Nancy Griffith recording and pronouncing things. Because, it was her Other Voices, Other Rooms album that really was a gateway for me into John Prine in particular, but all those artists that she covered. And that was like 94, 96. So it was like 10 or under. And you don't have an idea to find your own voice when you're that age. You want to try to match the recording as closely as possible. Mm-hmm. And that included how to pronunciate words. So
how to pronounce words. And I think, and I think that, I think you were probably doing what all of us as musicians do, whether as guitar players or drummers or singers or whatever, that we are an average of all that we've listened to over our life. And you were pulling pieces from that, and it developed your sound. And it is a nice blend of who you are and what you were into that created this voice of who you are as a singer. I really enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah. When did and talking about your material, your albums, and this new single that you have, really enjoy your songwriting, and I'd love to kind of dig in a little bit and just talk about your process as a songwriter. When did you realize, and I'll tell you, I'm a singer and I play a lot of different instruments, and the one thing that I don't do that I wish that I could do is write songs. It's been one of those things that I've wanted to do it, and probably if I would put in the time, I could maybe do it a little bit better than I do.
Sure.
But I have such a respect for people who stay after that craft, and improve on it and stay at it, When did you realize that's something that you could do and something that you wanted to do?
In high school, I had this idea that I would grow up to be, a struggling, broke poet who lived in the basement of a friend. So I think I wanted to have writing as a big part of my life from about that age. And, at that time, I think the motivation for writing was like, how can I say these things that I feel, without having to have an actual conversation with a person?
I get it.
And maintain some level of pretending that it's not me saying these things.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, my early early teenage songwriting stuff, because in that high school band, we were extremely proud to play all original music. So each of the members of that wrote songs. And then I went on to college, and I did study creative writing in college at the University of South Florida. And from there, I didn't really keep up with participating in bands or writing much from, that would fall under a creative writing category until my late 20s, when I was getting into a group in Ithaca at the time, and finding that, it was a lot of fun to play a lot of covers, but it would be cooler to play more original music. And, my process is really often starting with a lyric, and often the lyric comes from something that either that I've heard said, or that I've said, or that has crossed my mind in a way that sounds poetic to me. I use the song Mountain Time from the album as an example, because I was in Lubbock for the first time, which is way up in the Panhandle, and I had just started dating my now wife. So she was, kind of constantly on my mind.
Sure.
I was, I used GPS. So I got there the way the map told me to get there, and I arrived, and I'm like, where exactly am I? Where is this on a map of the state of Texas? So I was like, okay, I'm almost on Mountain Time. And as it came through my mind with that phrasing, I was like, oh, I'm almost on Mountain Time. So things like that is usually the kickoff point for songs, more often than not. So sometimes it sets the tone right away for what the song is going to be about, because the circumstances of that phrase being said are also poetic in some way. And other times I have to look for a better context to put the phrase into. But that's usually how it goes. These days, sometimes I will purposefully try to write in a certain key, and I will, because I'm one of those banjo players that retunes and plays in open tunings always. So I'll be looking at my set list and say, geez, it's really dumb to retune to just play these two songs. I got to write another song in this key. And so sometimes I just vamp on a chord until, the rhythm shows itself, or the idea comes along.
That's a great idea. Yeah, I like that. Do you tend to write, do you have like a scheduled routine? Then you're going to just sit down and write, and whatever comes out, or do you wait for the inspiration to hit you before you write?
More inspiration, but I do try my absolute best to write a song every month. Since about this time last year, I've been playing on a monthly basis here in Austin at a venue called Batch, and I really feel for the staff there to have to listen to the same exact set of mine every single time.
Yes. House gigs can sometimes be a pain for everyone involved. Yeah. Everyone kind of gets a little bored with each other. Well, thank you. I'm sure they thank you for that.
So I do try to always have a new song every month, but that's kind of, I kind of cross my fingers and hope something comes up, and just try to, pay attention to all those moments where I find myself pausing to appreciate the way that something was phrased in conversation and make the most of it. Yeah.
Well, I love the album.
Thank you.
Peaches and Apple Pies. What a great title. What a great title. As a Georgia peach, it really touched my heart to see the title of the album. And Drive You to Kentucky, just the first track on it. I'm just like, I wish someone would write that song about me, because that is what a fantastic, and I'm assuming I know who that song was written for. And man, what a fantastic, there's a line in it about, smoking and chocolate. What is the lyric?
I like you more than nicotine and more than chocolate cake.
Oh, so good. It's so good. I chuckled and then, I laugh every time I hear it, because I'm like, yeah, that says it all. It's like, look, if you had any doubt how I felt about you, if I put those two things in there, that should say it. Yeah, it's really good.
I've been dreaming all about you my whole damn life. Even when I thought that I had found an all right wife. You're a little taller than you were in my head, but you sure know how to love me He sent you from above, and I will drive you to Kentucky, even if I don't get lucky. It's that drive you to Kentucky kind of love.
What is the origin behind the best bar in Texas? I feel like I've played in about 100 places like that, and maybe more. But yeah, what is the origin about that song? I'm assuming it's a true story about a real place.
All true.
Oh, it's great.
It is about a place. Actually, maybe to talk about Lubbock again. It was maybe my third time going through Lubbock when I had a gig there, and I had booked the gig over the phone, which is really rare these days. The venue is this, bar, obviously, and it didn't have a website. It didn't have an Instagram page. It had a Facebook page with posts, maybe 3 times a year there were posts on this Facebook page, and it was short notice. So I had looked at some other places around who were an easy email away, but it was coming up too close to the date that I was looking for. So I called this place and they booked me, and there's just very few pictures online, very little information. So it turned out to be a really, really special gig because I at the time was driving a little Corolla hatchback. And I'm sure you come across this, especially as you head, out of St. Louis. There can be a lot of huge trucks on the road.
Oh, yeah.
And they can be a little bossy towards a Corolla hatchback.
Especially, and then you're in Texas where everyone kind of drives about 100 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah. So I had this experience of pulling into the parking lot, and the whole parking lot is full of these trucks. And so that mental perception of potential danger was there as I'm going. And it turned out to be exactly physically as I describe it. The detail that I wish I had worked in is the fact that it was carpeted, except for the dance floor. There was carpeting throughout, which is especially notable as a place where smoking is allowed indoors. But anyway, so it's dimly lit. I really squinted as I walked in, but I was hanging out.
Do you remember what was playing when you walked in the door? Do you remember what music was playing?
I don't know if they were playing yet, but a guitar, piano, keyboard duo was on before me. I don't remember if they had started playing yet, but they were doing, in general, some classic rock and country covers. There was a pool table in there, and it was clear that everybody knew each other and that I was an outsider, but they sat right up next to me and chatted with me, and just by the end of the night, I had played my set of acoustic, singer-songwriter, just a girl with a banjo kind of music, and people had, fell quiet and were maintaining eye contact in this otherwise, kind of rowdy. There's a pool tournament going on. There's, the TV going on, and all this activity, and I really came away with this sense of having made friends, having felt appreciated, and recognizing that I had misjudged, the outside with the somewhat ripped awning and faded. It was a surprise. It was a very pleasant surprise to have that experience. And speaking of process, the first line of that song was the first thing that came to me. It's behind the Walgreens on Avenue Q. But Mary really is the name of the bartender. Cat really is the name of the gentleman whose nickname is Cat, that I chatted with about John Prine. I did change the name of the gentleman who picks fights, or at least proclaimed to pick fights. I say that he's Charlie in this song, but I did change that name
to protect the all parties involved. That's good.
Yeah.
It's behind the Walgreens on Avenue Q. Give Mary a minute, she'll get to you and your order of Lone Star with a glass for your chew. Here where nothing is old, nothing is new. They're all smoking cigarettes. No one seems to have big regrets. So it's the best place for a Thursday night, as long as Charlie don't start a fight.
Looking at the album, and I think you recorded your new single there as well, Signal Hill Studio. How did you start recording there? It's a fantastic sounding. Everything you've recorded there sounds so good, and I love just everything about it. What was that process like?
Yeah, Patrick over there, he's great. Patrick Hirschfeld runs that, and I came to it because that's where the relationship was between the producer and his studio. It was kind of where he'd like to be, and that was totally fine by me. The experience right out of the gate, there was a tentative plan to use a click, which I had never done and was a little bit nervous about doing. That was really the only part of the process that took a bit of a pause and an adjustment and a forced willingness on my part to at least experiment with it.
Sure.
But it was otherwise, very unassuming, very comfortable spot to be. It's kind of out in the country, just outside of Austin. And, I definitely appreciate the feedback on the sound of it, but, that's all the space and Patrick. I did want, the sound to be, have minimal interference, I guess. I don't know how else to put it, but just to be true. And I think Patrick captured everything well.
Yeah. Did you record? Were most of the basic tracks recorded at the same time, like with the bass and guitar? Did you put down the tracks and then everyone came in and recorded?
Yeah,
after
I
the
put
fact?
the banjo down first, and then I did all the vocals. And then guitar and bass recorded at the same time, and then fiddle recorded. Noah Jeffries did the guitar and the fiddle, so he did 2 sessions in there, and I think that was a really good way to do it, in my opinion, because I really wanted the song to be banjo forward. I don't know if you picked up on it, but there's only one guitar solo over all 10.
Yeah, I noticed. Sorry, guitar players.
There's nothing against guitar players, but I love being a banjo player, and I think that that the banjo deserves. I think it deserves to be front and center more often than it's placed there, and I think it's more true for me to present the songs with the banjo at the forefront, because that's how I play them. Like I said earlier, I do almost always play out solo, so it's just a more accurate picture and way to capture the songs, is that they are banjo songs to me.
Yeah, and I love the way that the songs are represented instrumentally, and I totally agree with your vision of that. And did you change? Did you arrange the songs differently from how you tend to do them as a solo artist? If you're doing a show by yourself, did you change it much? Or the arrangements kind of the way you always do it and just augmented by other instruments?
The only changes were songs that didn't otherwise have a clear spot for a fiddle to solo. Because I think one of my kind of next goals is to be playing with a fiddle player more. So I saw that as a, permanent dream big kind of move would be more fiddle after the banjo. But otherwise, no, I had the harmonica parts in mind and the banjo parts in mind, and all those things were placed where I hoped and wanted them to be. But definitely appreciate the fiddle banjo combination and complementary relationship. So
is that you playing harmonica on there? On the nice playing, yeah, it sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah, really nice, really nice. So tell me about your new single. I think it just released as we're recording this. It released a couple weeks ago. Really enjoy it. Love everything about it. I love
Thank you.
Love what it says. I love everything about it. And, I probably don't need to ask what led you to write it, but I'm going to ask you what led you to write the song,
Yeah, well, I wanted to keep up my kind of writing schedule of getting a new song for my batch gigs, and I was finding it to be very difficult after the election to think about much besides kind of the bare bones, what you need to do to live and carry on. And throughout that time, I was looking for a song to play that would satisfy like the physical craving element of being able to sing or being able to yell or being able to get some of that angst and anger and sadness like out of my system. Maybe if I could only sing it out. And so I looked for those songs. Ani DeFranco has some really good general social commentary. So she has a ton of them. And there's obviously the music from the 60s and 70s that's very specific to, the Vietnam War. In a lot of cases or other historical events. So I wasn't finding anything that had like that was satisfying that physical need to get something out of my system and that would kind of be true to the times. And then I had a conversation with a friend of mine we ran into each other and we stood there for maybe 40 minutes. The first time we'd seen each other in a couple months. And so we stood there for a while and kind of went down the list of, oh, what about this? And, oh, did you hear about this? And, oh, what about this? And, oh, what about this? And it started to shift into, well, what can be done? And at the end of the conversation, she said, well, you got to remember to still find joy. And you got to remember to still experience those moments of happiness and be positive where you can in the face of all this. So, that's where the inspiration came from.
Yeah.
Was this desire to say something that would satisfy, to say and sing something that would satisfy this, like, man, like what is going on? But also honor that advice to smile where you can, and also be truthful and real about some of these circumstances that we're facing with our leadership. So
I love how it comes simultaneously from a place of protest, but also inspiration. I think it's really nice, and it does have that angst to it, but at the same time, it is a place of I'm going to lift my voice about this because that's what I still have to do in times like this. Yeah, I really enjoy. Yeah, it's a powerful song.
Remember that old picture of the flower in the gun. Remember when you learned of how the West was really won. Remember all the bodies that they found after the war. Remember what we're really fighting for. We will sing, we will dance, we will laugh while we take our stance. We will stand, we will say, they can't take that away.
You wrote it sometime in the winter?
Yeah, I wrote it in February.
Okay.
And just got to recording it kind of as soon as I could get the team together to do that. So most of it was April, May, and then it was just, I noticed that an upcoming Friday happened to fall on the 4th of July and thought, well, that's the day.
That's the day. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Now I saw that the release date was 4th of July. I'm like, yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah, I appreciate you doing that. Before we go, what all are you working on now? What are you playing out a lot?
I am playing, so I play every second Wednesday at Batch here in Austin. And I have a trip coming right up. I think it kicks off on July 29th with a show in Buffalo. And
oh, cool.
Starting that night and for the next, the week and a half after, I'll be in Rochester and Syracuse and Ithaca and Schenectady, New York. And then I'll be in East Hampton, Massachusetts at the end of that trip. So that's all right around the corner. And in the fall, September, I'm planning to go to West Texas and New Mexico. And beyond that, I've got to start working on getting some things booked beyond that. But I recorded 2 other songs at the same time as the We Will Sing session, and those will be coming out. One in October, and that was called The Border, and one the following January called You Can Go. Looking forward to that.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you are sharing your music live.
Yeah.
And I didn't hear St. Louis in that list, but
Sorry.
I'm going to take your word that you're going to get to work on that.
Yes.
And we will be there and bring everyone we know. That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad you're doing that and continuing to write and record. It's and I like this staggered release schedule you're doing. It's kind of just whetting everyone's appetite for it and then releasing some a little bit down the road. It's nice. Yeah, it's good. Well, I've had such a good time talking to you. I feel like I could just sit and hang out and talk to you, for the rest of the
Likewise.
day. We could talk about how cool it is where we're both where we are right now. I don't even want to think about how hot it is outside right now. Yeah, it's just been such a good. I'm so happy that this opportunity came our way, that we could hang out and talk, and that I was able to learn about you and your music. And I just encourage everyone to go out and to find your music. What is the best place for people to listen to your music and know where you're playing?
The best place to stay in touch with my schedule is my website, which is ritabliss.com. And
Excellent.
I do a lot of announcing of news on my Instagram, which is Rita Bliss Banjo. And my streaming services, my streaming stuff is, how do I like to say it to be funny? My songs are now playing on a streaming service near you. So
that's nice.
So wherever you go, it should be, anywhere you look, it should be there.
Yeah.
So.
That had a wonderful voiceover artist sound to it when you said that. So yeah, you could record that as a commercial to play before your album. That's nice.
And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
this is really great. Thanks for all the kind words about the music and just for listening to the music. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I thank you for what you're doing, and just it doesn't go unnoticed what you're doing, and I encourage everyone that listens to the podcast to go and search out Rita's music and listen to it, and think you'll be a fan like I am now. So
Cool.
yeah, well, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
And thanks for this.
Thank you.